here to help you with breeze. Planting seeds and teaching skills. Teachers turn schoolyards to dreams. Oh, hey, school gardens with ease.
Grow a non-stop supply of salad greens school year-round in your classroom with ease. You're listening to the School Gardens with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Leila Amir Eskandari, and this is episode 64. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of growing food in your classroom. Even though I love outdoor school gardens, I am an expert in growing them. I teach teachers how to grow them, and I even have done for you programs for it. I just love the simplicity, ease, and impact a small classroom food garden without an outdoor garden can have. And if you're new to this world of mine, then, well, now you know. I just love indoor classroom gardens. Not only I have it done for you lesson package for growing food seedlings indoors for spring called Oasis Classroom, which needs absolutely no outdoor space and is educational, productive, and impactful beyond your imaginations. I have a fall and winter program for indoor growing called Oasis Fall and Winter, which is all about gardening activities for your classrooms for the gloomy months of the year. So if you are listening to this episode in fall, go check that out. And well, as usual, the link is in the show notes. And if you're listening to this episode at the end of winter or beginning of spring, go look up Oasis Classroom for spring. Again, link will be in the show notes. But what I want to teach you right here and now in this episode is growing a non-stop supply of salad greens indoors, school year round, in your classroom. Greens your students can start harvesting in 6 weeks every other day. This is something I started doing in my own home this year, and I know for a fact that it will work very well in any classroom setting with no outdoor space and no expensive equipment. The only trick is finding a sunny window. In the Northern Hemisphere, that would be a south-facing window that is not blocked by any tall trees or buildings. Now, some of you might be thinking, you don't know which direction your classroom windows face. I get it. You had no reason to think about it before this, but I encourage you to not let that stop you, okay? Knowing your directions is really not rocket science, and for an educator like you, is really easy to figure out. All you need to do is look at your school's address on the Google Maps and find out where in the building your classroom is, and that will tell you the direction of the windows. Or next time that you're in your classroom, fire up the compass in your phone. Most smartphones have a compass app. And if not, you can easily download it for free. And that will tell you which direction the windows in your classroom are facing. Again, south is the best, but if your windows are facing east or west, that could still work. North-facing windows are not good. They will not work. Absolutely not. You will be wasting your time and energy and effort with north-facing window in the Northern Hemisphere. So if your classroom doesn't have windows or has north-facing windows, you need to find another room that does have sunny windows. That could be an office, a library, a teacher's lounge, an empty classroom, or even another, one of your colleagues who is kind and lovely and is not using the window ledge in their classroom, and they're willing to share the ledge, the window ledge in your classroom with you. It takes a little bit of resourcefulness to find that window, but you can do it. I believe in you. Remember, you want plenty of sunlight to shine on top of your plants directly. For those of us who want to do this school year round and get cloudy winters, you're going to do much, much better with a south-facing window than an east or a west-facing window, because a south-facing window will catch all of the possible sunlight that might shine throughout a cloudy day, in the morning, in the afternoon. A west-facing window doesn't catch it in the mornings, and same thing, the opposite is true for an east-facing window. Because it happens that you get a bunch of cloudy mornings and sunny afternoons, and your east-facing window will miss out on all the sunlight. So south-facing is best. Hope that makes sense. But if you don't have a south-facing window anywhere in your school that you can use, then east or face-facing are your second best option. Again, no north-facing windows. Okay, so the first thing is a sunny window. The second thing you need is to find a good seed mix for this. I have tried 2 salad green mixes from OSC, the Ontario Seed Company. Happy with both of them. I will link them in the show notes. And for those of you who are in the US, I'll add a link to a seed mix from So True Seeds. I have worked with both of these seed companies, and I love both of them. The seed mixes of OSC, I have personally tried, and I know they work because I live in Canada. And the ones from So True Seeds, my teachers in the US have tried, and they know that it works. So, and they're very happy with it. By the way, I do not get a kickback off of any of these links. I'm simply adding them for your convenience because it matters big time that you pick a good seed mix. Remember, these links don't belong to me. They work at the time of recording this episode. They might not work later. I don't have any, influence in managing any of these links. They belong to different companies that I have no affiliation with. But these companies hopefully will be there for a long time. And you can always search for other salad green mixes that they might have on their website if these links specifically don't work, okay? The third thing that you need is an organically made potting mix with no added nasty chemicals. That shouldn't be hard to find. You can find them at the garden supply stores around you. But it could depend on the season. Like places like Home Depot or Canadian Tire, for example, they have an abundant supply of soil bags, all spring and summer, but then they close their garden centers in the fall and winter, and you might not find any soil in those stores anymore during fall and winter. At least that's how it is around here. If you want to grow school year round supplies of salad greens, you might want to buy more than what you immediately need and store them for fall and winter. Okay, the soil, I mean. But you're not going to need a lot of soil. Don't worry about it. I'll explain in a minute. And the fourth and final item that you need is planters. Now, this is not just any planters. The right setup is super important for your easy success. And you know me, I'm all about ease in the classroom. You need a double planter setup for sub-irrigation. One of the main things for having a consistent, non-stop supply of greens is consistent supply of water. If you and your students overwater or underwater, you won't grow consistently with success. Sub-irrigation is the only way to grow in the classroom. You need 18 square buckets. The ones I use are 14 inches by 10 by 4. These buckets or containers will act as the water reservoir for your sub-irrigated planter system. Then you'll need 18 slightly smaller food-grade plastic square containers that easily fit inside the reservoir buckets. These will be the containers you will actually put soil in and plant in. So these will have holes for the soil to soak up the water you'll pour in the outer bucket up into the roots of the plants. I use the containers my salad mix greens used to come in before all this when I used to buy them at the grocery store. You know that plastic food grade thin see-through packaging boxes that salad greens come in? Those are the ones that I'm talking about. So I kept those, and those are the ones that I'm using. Some of them have kind of like holes at the bottom for airflow, but some of them don't. So the ones that I have, they don't have any holes. So I actually have drilled holes all around on the walls of these containers, but very, very close to the bottom. The reason these holes, I'm not putting them at the bottom of the container is because I don't want the weight of the soil to sit on top of these holes and block the water from flowing in easily. You want these holes to be on the walls, but as low as possible, close to the bottom. I hope that makes sense. So my inner containers are 12 inches by 9 inches by 3. Yes, 3 inches on depth is enough for your salad greens to grow strong for 6 weeks, because that's when you're going to harvest them. You don't need any deeper containers. So you have your double layer sub-irrigated planters, your sunny window, your potting mix, and your seed mix. And that's all the tools and supplies that you need. Oh, well, of course you need water because you're planting and plants need water. And to, pour the water in the reservoirs easily, it's good to have 1 or 2 very small, it doesn't have to be big, watering cans around in your classroom. And that's all you need. How do you do it? First of all, by you, I mean your students, right? When I say, how do you do it? I mean, how do your students do it? This is a hands-on educational activity. And as I always say, your students won't learn unless they do the work. So when I say you, I mean your students. So you fill up the planter with soil. You water the soil to make sure that it's wet through and through. You sprinkle seeds on the surface of the soil, all over the soil. So you don't need to space them or worry about how close they are. Just sprinkle all over. You cover the seeds with a tiny bit of soil. You sprinkle a little bit of soil, just enough, to cover and hide the seeds. You water a little bit to make sure that the covering soil is also wet and it's not dry. You place the planter inside the reservoir bucket. And last but not least, pour about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches of water at the bottom of the reservoir. Enough for the water to actually come higher than the holes that you drilled at the bottom of the planter. And of course, put it in front of that sunny window. And that's it. Now, every now and then, check to make sure that there is 1 or 2 inches of water at the bottom of the reservoirs. You don't ever need to water from the top on top of the soil anymore, ever. Only make sure that the reservoir is not empty. Your harvest will be ready in 6 weeks. Now, to have a consistent supply of salad greens forever and ever, you need to repeat this task for a new container every other day. I suggest you do this activity on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 times a week, 18 containers. In 6 weeks, your first container will be ready to harvest and get back into the line for, repeat planting in 2 days. What I do is I cut the greens when I'm harvesting, then I pull and throw out the roots of the plants, remove and replace, a few centimeters of the topsoil, and, freshen that much up is enough, and plant in the mostly same soil again. And that's why I said at the beginning that you really don't need a lot of soil because it can be reused for many, many, many cycles. Give your harvest a quick wash, to make sure that none of the soil when you were harvesting got mixed, with the greens. But other than that, your salad greens are essentially clean because other than your students touching the greens when they harvested, nothing else contaminated. You grew them indoors under your eyes. You used hopefully organic seeds and soil. You obviously did not spray anything on them. So they're as clean as they can come. Just use gloves to harvest and you're all set in terms of, food handling safety and all of that. I will leave it to your imagination to dream about all the cool things you could do with this consistent, nonstop abundance of salad greens in your classroom. I'm sure there is an idea or two that comes to mind. But I would like to definitely remind you of the legacy you will be leaving in the minds and hearts of your students by doing this super simple task that takes 5 minutes 3 times a week. It will be educational in so many levels, empowering and totally refreshing too. I hope this inspired you to go and give it a try. Depending on your feedback on this episode, I might create a guide and, add it to the Oasis Fall and Winter program as a bonus. We'll see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you next week in another episode. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.